Hey everybody! So today we're going to be doing Halo Escalations, issues 1 through 4, maybe 5. This is continuing on everything that I've already watched and played and done with Halo. Arco told me I should take a look at this, and Arco's with me right now.
Hello.
What we're going to be doing is we're going to be watching this. He's going to explain some things in the lore that I don't get if I have any major questions. And we're just going to go from there. So this is continuing a deep dive into Halo lore. This was made by Halo Canon. And I don't, explain what this is, Arco.
This video is a review of the Halo Escalation comic series.
Ah, okay. So, here we go. Starting out.
Friends, comrades, lend me to your ears. Wednesday has come and gone, and so came the first issue of Halo Escalation. I must admit, I was somewhat skeptical about this new series. While I felt good about the new writer, Initiation left a pretty bad taste in my mouth, in case I hadn't been clear enough in the past. However, I was very pleasantly surprised to find that my skepticism was unfounded. That's right, Halo Escalation is an amazing comic. Starting off in the War Game Simulator, where the Spartans are playing, surprise, surprise, Invasion, Palmer is called to meet the UNSC Security Council concerning the escape of Dr. Halsey. I admit, this part felt a little weird. Following the events of Spartanauts, both Palmer and Captain Lasky would have filed reports concerning Halsey's escape and the failed assassination. Yet, Admiral Osmond is surprised to find out that Palmer states Lasky sent Majestic to back her up, which we as fans know to be a lie. Even stranger, Osmond even has a report from Palmer in front of her. I can only gather that Palmer mentioned her surprise at the appearance of Majestic, but never stated why Lasky sent them, though Lasky too would have had to lie in his report, either being vague about his intentions with Majestic or claiming they were sent to back up Palmer, a story which Palmer confirms during the inquiry. Whatever the case, the scene seems unnecessarily long. I know it's there to provide a little closure, seeing as, if the truth were known, Lasky would have been court-martialed, but it takes up the first quarter of the comic. All that aside, this scene brings back a fan-favorite character, Admiral Lord Terrence Hood, and I have to say it's great to see him return. Though I have to wonder, why was Hood the only one in the Security Council wearing a war-era uniform?
Hood was the one in Halo 2 at the opening, right?
And in Halo 3, yeah.
Ah, okay.
All the other admirals and generals had post-war uniforms, but Hood stood out. Is there a reason for this? Is it to make sure fans know it's Hood?
Because
it's a
he's
minor
a
thing,
boss?
but his uniform consistently bothered me when reading through the comic. It also seems that Hood was aware of Osmond ordering Halsey's assassination. I wouldn't expect him to say anything during the inquiry, but I do hope that we get to see how he feels about the whole situation in a future issue. After the inquiry, Lord Hood comes aboard the Infinity, saying the flagship will help host negotiations between the Sangheili and the Jiralhanae. As it turns out, the Jiralhanae are sitting on a number of worlds with vast resources that they don't know how to harvest, and the UNSC hopes to cash in. When Lasky inquires about the hunt for jewels...
Okay, just so I'm clear, the Jiralhanae are the Brutes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not an idiot. Yay!
Dama, Hood says that the Vociferous will be taking over. This, of course, is a reference to former Ascendant Justice blogger Vociferous, a current 343 employee. Anyway, the UNSC meets up with friendly Sangheili and...
Really? They named somebody in the canon after a former employee of 343?
They do that all the time, actually.
Ah.
Jiralhanae forces above Aelin 4, a former Covenant plasma farm. Literally, it was a planet terraformed to have inclement weather so that the Covenant could harvest lightning. As Spartan Scroggs remarks, the Covenant always have to do things the hard way. On the planet, talks between humans, Sangheili, and Jiralhanae begin. The Jiralhanae chieftain, Lidus, claims that his people only take what is owed to them. However, the Arbiter insists that peace is in the Jiralhanae's best interest before fighting breaks out among the different tribes. This is a nice reference to Halo Evolution's The Return, which takes place in 2559, 1 year later. Sadly, the peace is not meant to last. A new Sangheili-led Covenant faction, calling itself the Guardians of the Righteous, disturbs the party. It's important to note that this faction seems unaffiliated with Jul 'Mdama, Dama, the Servants of Abiding Truth, or any other Covenant remnants that we've seen so far. Besides the name, they have normal-looking Kigyar, Umdamas being from a remote part of the Kigyar homeworld, and they seem to be using Halo 3 era weaponry. They even use Spirit dropships in Halo 2 and 3 era Banshees, perhaps implying that Jul 'Mdama's forces use older model Banshees. This would further imply that the Banshees seen in Halo Reach and Halo CEA are actually old model, which were eventually swapped out for the ones seen in Halo 2 and 3.
Okay.
The comic then comes to an end as several Spartans, Lasky and Hood, are locked in a warehouse with the Arbiter, Lydius, and their respective surviving escorts. So, an amazing start to the series. Lots of action, nice overall pacing, and the return of fan-favorite characters. Still, the comic is not without faults. Besides what I've listed above, I have two other complaints. 1. Palmer is, again, dual-wielding pistols. Please, 343, stop trying to make this a thing. The pistols are supposed to be support weapons, and they just hurt Palmer's image. She even has a DMR on her back in this issue.
Yeah, why?
I choose the pistols over the DMR.
Aesthetic, I guess.
There's no actual reason for it. He's just,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Why? Number 2, the art. The characters consistently look anorexic or just way too thin.
Yeah,
I'm also not
they
a fan of the
really
characters
do.
seemingly talking through their teeth. There are literally 3 instances where the characters are talking and actually have their mouths open. Otherwise, it's just open lips and teeth. Kinda bothersome. Still, those minor complaints aside, this first issue seems to indicate a strong series to come. Palmer actually felt like more than a talking piece of cardboard in this issue. If Chris Schlurf could turn her into an actual character in a single issue, I cannot wait to see what he does with her in later issues. We may even have some actual character development. Halo Escalation is primed to be a great ongoing series, so pick up the first issue if you haven't already. If you're still skeptical, head over to the Halo Universe forums on Halo Waypoint. Fans have taken an almost universal shining to this comic from what I've seen. Issue 2 releases on January 08 next year. I look forward to seeing what happens next. This has been Halo Canon, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, so what is his hang up with Palmer? Like, because I didn't see her at... Is he talking only with her from the game? From
yeah.
Spartan Ops?
Yeah, no, yeah. See, thing is, before this comic, the only other place we had seen her was Halo 4's campaign, Spartan Ops, and one other comic series, which was essentially her origin story, but even that was... Yeah, she comes very much across like a...
Plank.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. We will continue to watch and see if Plank can evolve into a character.
Interesting note. The Jiralhane chieftain in this comic, Lidus, his polity of, I guess you could say, constituents, it's actually a very new, very unique thing for the Brutes, because throughout most of their history, there was 2 primary quote-unquote factions, but they're more like political parties that span across the breadth of their entire homeworld.
Okay.
One that's very traditionalist conservative, and the other that's very not open-minded, but far more willing to accept or try out new things. Lidus, in this comic here, represents a new faction of brutes that aren't really down with either of those.
Oh, okay. So, political revolution. They're the French. Anyhow.
A little bit.
Okay. Alright, here we go with episode 2, Halo Escalation.
Happy New Year, my Canonites, and welcome to 2014. Before we begin, I just need to make a quick apology. It's been a while since my last video released, and I am truly sorry for that. The simple truth is that I've been having trouble with my video editing and rendering software, which has prevented me from updating.
I know that pain so well. I had to get a new mouse because my mouse kept on double-clicking and would throw everything into pure chaos. It's like hours of work would just vanish in a minute.
Anyway, I'm back now, so let's get to it. Today we are going to discuss Halo Escalation Issue 2, and boy, what an issue. I've said before that this series looks like it's going to be the Halo comic we've been waiting for, and Issue 2 does not disappoint. Picking up with our heroes running from an unknown Covenant faction, they decide to head to some local fortifications left over from the Human Covenant War.
Hold on, I gotta back it up. Because this guy right here, the one with the orange helm, that guy looks like he just dropped every mushroom on a planetary system.
That's Lidus.
He really, really looks like he needs to calm it down a little bit.
Covenant War. Captain Lasky and the newly introduced Spartan Ray, however, head elsewhere to try and re-establish communications. Not far away, we are introduced to the commander of this rogue Covenant faction, Shipmaster
Okay, that boy is jacked.
They're all jacked.
No, for an elite, look at him. He looks like he's been doing he's been doing lat curls for the better part of a decade. And nothing but.
They all look like that.
No. They usually look slimmer than this. This boy's thick.
Jad, who wears a very interesting combat harness. He is joined by an unknown human, though who this is anyone's guess.
Obi-Wan
Some have
Kenobi.
speculated he may be Admiral Drake, the traitor introduced at the end of Halo Initiation, something I would personally love to be true. Sadly, this human makes no further appearances in the issue. Maybe next time. Palmer and company continue to make their way to the redoubt, only to be cut off by a Lich. Palmer takes out the Lich by filling her helmet with grenades and sending it up the grav lift. Gotta give credit where credit is due. This was a
Okay.
pretty awesome move on Palmer's part, even if it did leave her helmetless. Meanwhile, Lasky and Spartan Ray find their way to the Plasma Refinery's administration office, hoping to find a way to communicate with the Infinity. Instead, they find that the facility is being used to block off-world communications. Luckily, it seems Ray might be able to find out who or what is doing the blocking. Back with the diplomats, Palmer and the Spartans finish taking out local Covenant
I love it. Back with the diplomats and somebody's getting backstabbed. That's very appropriate.
Yeah.
forces.
Ah!
Spartan Scruggs and Team Jackknife are sent ahead to check the redoubt while the others check the bodies for clues. Admiral Hood finds a UNSC datapad with profiles on all the UNSC personnel in Aelin 4
Why does he look so
and the location of the
starved?
peace talks. As Palmer and her forces move towards the redoubt, Captain Lasky and Spartan Ray hijack a couple of Banshees to make their way to whomever or whatever's blocking off-world communications. Now I have to stop here and point out something very interesting. 2 different Banshees. Since Halo Reach, the appearance of the new Banshee has been an issue of debate among fans. For the first time, we see a Halo CE/2/3 era Banshee and a Halo Anniversary/Reach/4 era Banshee side by side. I thought this was a very
Okay.
nice touch by 343 and confirms that the 2 Banshees are indeed separate models, though the relation between the 2 is still unknown. Seeing the Reach-style Banshee in Halo 4 makes me think that the Reach-era Banshee is an older model as much of the Halo 4 Covenant tech is older. T-44 Phantoms, for example, as opposed to T-52 seen in Halo 2 and Halo 3. It could be that the Halo Reach/Halo 4 style Banshee is used by the Covenant Army, while the Halo 2 and 3 era Banshee is used by the Covenant Navy. This would seem to be supported by the existence of the Halo 2/3 era Banshees in Halo Wars. But honestly, who knows?
Go ahead, bud.
The Covenant military makes absolutely zero distinction between army and navy. It's all considered the same thing, but that's really just a small gripe.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, I never really heard anything like that. But at the same time, you know, what do I know? Yeah, and the fact that guy got Zanzibar and the energy store is still active with no one touching it. But I'm an idiot. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's me being a dumbass.
Anyway, as the comic ends, Palmer and company finally make it
Dude, stop dropping so many mushrooms. Holy God. Look at his face.
to the redoubt with a welcoming message from Spartan Scruggs. However, it's revealed in the final panel that Scruggs has killed Jackknife and is in fact a traitor. Well, that's it for issue 2. I loved reading it, and when I went to pick it up, I was surprised to find that my normal comic shop was sold out of issues. Normally, it takes a month or so for the first batch to sell out. Hopefully this is merit of Halo Escalation's quality and popularity. I love the idea of a Spartan traitor, as it's been something that I've personally thought about since the reveal of the Spartan 4 program and how it recruits. Past Spartans were heavily indoctrinated, and while we've seen washouts like Soren 066 go insurrectionist, most Spartan 2s and 3s would never even think about it. The Spartan 4s are a different story, and I'm glad to see 343 going down this route. As always, I cannot wait for the next issue. In related news, issue 5 was announced this week, and while I normally don't talk about future issues, the description is highly worthy of note. The description is as follows. Missing for 30 years, a legendary UNSC warship is discovered deep behind enemy lines. As Infinity plans a rescue mission, however, Admiral Hood's
Okay, who are they at war with? Are they still at war with the Covenant Remnants?
Yes and no.
Oh.
Like I said, there's 1,000 different warlords, all
Oh, okay.
claim the mantle, and some of them are doing terrorist shit to human colonies, but, you know, it's...
past with the ship's captain threatens to jeopardize the mission. The first thing that should come to mind, and has for many, is the Spirit of Fire. It fits the bill of being missing for 30 years, though the mention of Hood and the ship's captain having a past is news to me, if we are indeed talking about the Spirit of Fire. It could also be that, if this is indeed the Spirit of Fire, Captain Cutter is dead and someone else who has a history with Hood is in command. Still, issue 5 won't be out until the end of April, so all we can really do is speculate until then. Well, we have 1 week until the release of Halo Mortal Dictata, and several more before the next issue of Escalation. Hopefully I'll have some videos to fill in those gaps, but we'll see if my computer will allow it. This has been Halo Canon, and I'll see you next time.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Not particularly.
All right, we're going to move on.
Well, it's been a long wait, but Halo Escalation
I like his armor in this. I do.
Mm.
That looks better. I did not like the last set, but I like this set.
3 is finally here. Without further ado, let's delve right in. Our issue starts with Lasky and Smart and Ray taking out the jamming device preventing off-world communications, and Ray does it in classic Halo style, blowing up a plasma coil. It's straight out of Halo multiplayer and represents something I love about this series, a knowledge of the Halo fanbase. It's not to say that the other comics are ignorant of the fans, but Escalation more than any other knows what Halo fans want to see. I should also note that I made a slight mistake in my last review saying that we saw Halo 3 and Halo 4 era Banshee side by side. It seems that what I thought to be a Halo 4 Banshee was in fact a Space Banshee. Still, while nice to see the Space Banshee, I wanted to rectify that mistake. The scene also features the Halo 4 style Kigar of Eevee-ish descent. Just some fun Easter eggs. Moving on, Lasky is finally able to communicate with Infinity, and not a moment too soon as Sangheili and Jurel Hana's ships are ready to move against each other. He's thankfully able to convince both groups of the very real threat on Elan 4. Unfortunately, all the reinforcements are too far away to do anything about the incoming Covenant threat. On board Gajat's ship, we get a little insight into the politics of the current Halo universe. It seems that Gajat is part of the Covenant Remnant, but he's not necessarily working under Jul 'Mdama's orders at the moment. At the very least, 'Mdama is unaware of Gajat working with humans and Jurel Hana. Elsewhere, Palmer, Hood, the Arbiter, and Lidis enter the redoubt only to discover Spartan Scrugg's betrayal when he takes Hood hostage. When Palmer accuses him of being an insurrectionist, he berates her, encouraging her to think about what's really going on in the galaxy. Why did the UNSC blame the New Phoenix incident on the Covenant Remnant? Why hasn't the Arbiter been able to secure peace over the last 5 years? A nice nod to Kilo 5, of course. And the big question, where is the Chief, and why hasn't anyone heard from him since the events of Halo 4? A nice nod to the potential story of Halo Xbox One. Palmer, basically fed up with Scrugg's shit, apologizes before shooting Hood in the leg, freeing him and allowing her to take down Scruggs.
That doesn't make any sense. That makes negative sense.
She throws a fucking knife through titanium alloy forearm armor.
That makes negative sense. Like, none.
I have to say, this is probably
Like, why... He's a Spartan. If you shot the guy that he's holding by the neck, he's not going to be able to get loose. I'm not sure. Okay, plot armor, moving on.
one of the best Palmer scenes to date. She kicks Scrugg's ass and kills him with a stab to the throat. This scene also answers a question many fans have been asking since Halo 4 was first previewed. Where do Spartan 4s keep their knives? The answer? A compartment in the forearm plating. After the fight, Lasky warns Palmer about the incoming Covenant threat and orders her to do whatever it takes to ensure the safety of the diplomats. This of course forces Palmer to run while other Spartans, namely DeMarco, stay behind to manually operate a Tyrant AA platform, much to Palmer's dismay. This scene is kind of ironic, Palmer being given orders that she doesn't like, considering her remarks about Osmond's orders to kill Halsey in Spartan Ops. Anyway, as DeMarco covers them, Palmer and company escape in a modified T-29 Shadow, something we haven't seen in action since Halo 2.
What is a Shadow?
If you remember Halo 2, in the mission just before you get to the second thing in New Mombasa, you go through those highway tunnels.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Moving on.
Above the planet, the Sangheili, Jurel Hana, and human forces are closing in on the Covenant Remnant, prompting Gajat to retreat for the moment. On the planet, DeMarco takes out a Banshee tailing the Shadow before being taken out himself. DeMarco was always something of a frat boy in Spartan Ops, but he got serious when he needed to. Here, he goes out like a badass, and the art reminds me of Carter's sacrifice in Halo Reach. Battered and bleeding, DeMarco makes a final kill before falling in the line of duty. The comic comes to a close with a funeral service for the fallen Spartans, with Lasky making remarks about the absurdity of Odie's policy that Spartans never die. After the service, Lasky and Palmer briefly meet up. Palmer, of course, angry about her dead comrades, and Lasky guilt-ridden over the choice he had to make. The final page is Lasky talking with Hood, who notes that only somebody way above Scruggs' pay grade could have tipped off the Covenant about the location of the peace talks. The notion, as Hood puts it, scares the hell out of me. Boy, what an issue. We started with some...
I have a feeling ONI is doing ONI things.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, God. ONI would be... Yeah, oh God. It's just ONI.
Great action, but the comic quickly gets serious and heavy. With the death of a character we got to know well in Spartan Ops and many more mysteries than answers, Escalation is going to keep fans interested for a long time to come. The next issue, as indicated by the bottom of the final page, will bring the story of the Spirit of Fire into the modern era. And according to issue 4's description, Lasky, with the age of Petra Janishik, will be looking into just how deep the UNSC has been infiltrated. Maybe we'll finally find out who that mysterious human working with Gajat is. As I keep saying, Escalation is turning out great, and I cannot wait for the next issue to release. For now, this has been Halo Canon, and we'll see.
Alright. Any thoughts?
Do I? Nah.
Yeah?
Nah, we'll get to that bridge.
Alright. Alright, next up. Yay, skits.
Got what I need?
Sure. I got it right here.
And it's the real deal, right?
Hey, I only sell 100% pure.
Strangely disturbing.
Here we are, March 26, 2014, and Halo Escalation Issue 4 is finally out. I don't know about you, but it certainly felt like a longer wait than the last couple issues, but given that Issue 4 never had an online preview, I'm probably not alone. It's sad to say that not a whole lot happens in this issue overall, but it's still a good read. We start off in the middle of a battle for some reason, then flashback 74 hours earlier. Right away, the keen comic book reader might notice a little discrepancy. The final page of Issue 3 apparently takes place 1 week after the events of Elan 4, which would put it around March 12th. However, Issue 4 starts on March 8th, apparently picking up with the same conversation that Hood and Lasky were having in the previous issue.
I've had situations like that.
Stickler for details, so maybe it's just an issue for me. Moving forward, Hood and Lasky are discussing a way to discover the traitor in the UNSC, who I'm still assuming is the elusive Admiral Drake. To do so, Lasky is meeting up with an old friend, Petra Janishik, with Spartan Naya Ray accompanying him. That's right, Spartan Ray's first name is Naya. And one of my favorite things about this scene is seeing Spartan Ray in civilian clothing. One of my favorite aspects of Halo Reach was seeing civilians for the first time.
Hey.
It really helps ground the Halo universe,
It
making
does.
it seem more real.
It really does.
Lasky arranges to meet Petra on an outer colony, Escala 3, yet another planet that seems to have gone untouched by the Human Covenant War. Now, I want to stop here and address a small issue I have. All these colonies that apparently went untouched, and more that have so quickly been recolonized. It's nothing too major, but it seems odd that so many colonies have remained intact, considering how often we heard about the devastation and obliteration of colonies during the Human Covenant War.
See, that doesn't... I don't agree with that. Just based off the standpoint that, you know, even in our own wars, like World War II, not every German town was bombed out. Not every Japanese town was bombed out. Not every British town was bombed out. You know, these things just didn't happen.
It's my if Escala 3 is an inner colony, then I mean the inner colonies more than likely anywhere from half to 2/3 of them went untouched. So you know.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just being picky, but when you look at the Halopedia page about human colonies, there's something like 17 colonies that are fine A-OK out of the almost 100 listed colonies, not including Earth and the Sol system. That's almost 20% of the listed colonies. Still, if the information from the old Halo story page on the ancient Xbox.com is to be believed, there were over 800 colonies at one point, which makes the 17 surviving/recolonized colonies, equaling less than 0.02% by the way, a bit more believable. I guess I just wish the 343 would stick with established locations rather than constantly making up new ones. In the end, I wager I'm just being picky. As Lasky and
A
Ray
little
set
bit.
out on their mission, Hood wants to see, firsthand, what the Infinity is capable of. He gives Roland control, and after some funny lines from Roland, is ready to put Infinity to the test, before a random distress signal catches their attention. It's kind of funny how Infinity keeps stumbling upon random distress signals, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit disturbing. I think he muted the audio here.
Yes.
Upon investigation, they find an old freighter, Pilgrim's Pride, and find it in pretty bad shape. As they tow it in for aid and rescue, the ship deploys small fighters, and worse, it looks like the engine is going to blow. Spartan teams Colossus, Fenrir, and Majestic, the latter now being led by Thorn, are deployed to get the ship away from Infinity and hopefully stop this self-destruct sequence. Thankfully, the freighter is cleared from Infinity in time, and the ship's core is ejected. The remaining fighters, mostly Sparrowhawks and Vultures,
Sparrowhawks and vultures.
retreat.
Why do you do it like that?
Because he made a mistake. Because they weren't actually. Hang on, let me look. I wasn't looking at the panel, but either there weren't any Sparrowhawks or there weren't any Vultures.
On a scale of 3, we finally get to see Petra for the first time. Wait a minute. Is that Shell? Holy shit, it's Shell from Portal! When did we get into a cross... Wait. I'm being told that is in fact Petra, and that I am a complete dumb... Hey! So after meeting up, Lasky...
I can relate to that sentiment.
Ray and Petra all sit down to talk. We get a little backstory about how Lasky and Petra grew up on Mars together, and I'm sorry, I have to interrupt again. This is something that's been bothering me since the Halo 4 Essential Visual Guide came out. Apparently, Lasky was born on Mars, but also grew up on New Harmony. Cue Halo 4 clip.
I grew up in New Harmony. Attended Corbulo Military Academy. Never saw Earth in person until I was an adult, but I still think of her as home.
So, I really just want to know, what is Lasky's personal timeline? We know he was born on Mars, so did he move to New Harmony after and then return to Mars sometime after the attack on Corbulo Academy? That would be my guess, considering Lasky said he and Petra were friends before she, quote, decided to become a planet-hopping journalist. Anyway, Lasky dismisses Ray to avoid implicating her and talks business with Petra.
I think that's just a slight oversight, but,
Likely.
yeah. Or what's more likely, he grew up on Mars to the age that he was, when he went to Corbulo. And then he got shipped up to Corbulo. That just seems to make the most sense. And she stayed on Mars. I mean, it's just a thing of dialogue, but I just think it's like an oversight and a simplification.
He details the incident in Elon 4 and asks Petra if she can flush out the traitor.
Enough with the mushrooms. Jesus. Look at his face.
Petra agrees, so long as she can talk to none other than Master Chief Petty Officer Spartan John 117. While nothing is concrete, we may get a cameo from the Chief himself in the coming issues. The comic comes to a close with Hood talking to Commander Bailey and some after-action teams regarding the Pilgrim's Pride. It turns out, and I'm betting most of you have already guessed this, that the Sparrowhawks and the Vultures that were deployed from the freighter were in fact from the long-missing UNSC Spirit of Fire. The final lines in the issue are from Hood, who says, "I know all there is to know about the..."
He gained about 40 pounds in literally one panel. Yeah.
Spirit of Fire. I'm the reason they went missing.
Oh.
Gore Rabbit Schlurf, what a cliff to leave us hanging on. While the next issue should feature the legendary ship more directly, we'll hopefully discover what Hood means when he says he's the reason for their disappearance. Could he have been the one who declared the ship lost with all hands instead of MIA? Could there be something more devious at play? Sadly, we'll have to wait another month. Overall, the issue was a fun read. We found out why DeMarco was reassigned to Spartan Team Bailey, basically so Thorn could lead Majestic, finally saw Petra, learned Spartan Ray's first name, and so much more. Still, the comic is not without fault. I've already taken issue with Escalation's art, but it seems that Dark Horse is hell-bent on annoying me. Issue 4 marks the introduction of a new artist, Ricardo Sanchez, and I can't say I'm happy with that change. The characters look worse than before. Hood used to look too thin, now he looks like he's suddenly gained 50 pounds.
Yes.
I barely recognized Thorn when I first saw him, and I don't even know what this is supposed to be an expression of.
Me gusta.
Nonetheless, the story pulls you in and keeps you distracted, which speaks volumes about Schlurf's writing abilities. It really saddens me to think that we only have 2 more issues before he leaves Halo for good, with Halo lead writer Brian Reed taking over. I really worry about what could happen to the characters in Reed's hands, considering his work in Spartan Ops and Initiation. Still, he did give us Spartan Thorn, so that's something, right? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Not particularly, no.
All right.
Another month, another issue of Halo Escalation, and another sad step towards the end of Christopher Schlurf's involvement with the Halo universe. Chris, you will sorely be missed. Issue 5 picks up with Lasky, Petra, and Spartan Ray arriving on the Sangheili-controlled colony of Karava. It is important to note that this colony is described as Sangheili-controlled, lying in the middle of contested space, likely referring to the uncertain nature of the galaxy post-Covenant. Strangely, though, the description of the comic referred to this as a Sangheili Holy Land, though there doesn't seem to be any hint that this place is holy in any regard. Plenty of other Covenant species are seen wandering about.
What's his problem? Because I'm not seeing it.
The Grunt doesn't have a gas mask.
That's what they look like. They look like fucking sea turtles.
No, it's just a mistake. They're only supposed to be able to breathe methane.
They look like sea. Oh, look at this guy right here. He looks like he's getting into the mushroom stash. What the fuck is with his face? This guy looks like a sea turtle. This guy looks like a reject Goomba from Mario.
Oh my dear. Is that supposed to be an Ungoi? The hell is wrong with its mouth? Where the hell is its methane pack? Why the hell are those Kigyar seemingly as tall as the Sangheili? Okay, I know I keep ragging on the art of this series, but as an art major, I can't abide it. In a later panel, once again, methane packless Grunt looks much taller than it should be, while a human looks almost as tall as a nearby Sangheili. And what the hell is up with this pointless panel?
Me Dolph thinks he is angry. Little bit angry. I know the feeling.
Okay. Let's move on. The group is on Karava to meet a Sangheili known as Zeph Tral, a source Petra has used before. As they make their way to the meetup point in Kor Delban, Spartan Ray has a close encounter with the Sangheili, though Petra tells Ray to basically brush it.
Okay, like, seriously? The, perspective and the height of these things seems to change, like, every frickin' panel.
Yeah, it's not great.
Like, this elite is bigger than a brute right now. It
off. And while this scene is horribly drawn, I mean, seriously, what the hell is up with that face?
I don't know.
We do learn some interesting information. When the Sangheili starts to growl at Ray, she suggests growling back. Petra advises against this, saying that imitating the Sangheili language is considered an insult. This info could be considered intuitive, who likes to have someone make fun of their native language, but it was, in my opinion, interesting nonetheless. It is also worth pointing out that all the Covenant species seem to be wearing nothing but armor. Humans are the only species seen dressing casually. However, seeing as this planet is in the middle of contested space, I can see why some species may feel the need to be armored up at all times. Still, I personally would have preferred it if more species had their street clothes on. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, so this Sangheili, named Lordan, along with a few of his buddies, decides to attack Ray and the gang since Ray apparently...
Why is he talking like a brute?
Doesn't know English very well.
Ah.
pissed him off. Maybe it's the pointless booty shot, or maybe I'm just projecting.
Pointless booty shot for the win.
Petra pulls out a revolver with some beautiful designs on it and kills Lordan and scares off the others. As they continue to make their way towards Cor Delban, Petra notes that the survivors now think that Lasky and Ray are her pets. I love little tidbits like this. Petra and gang finally get to a small canteen, and while the previously mentioned pointless panel annoys the hell out of me, I love the imagery of a human serving Sangheili drinks. And most of all, a drunk Sangheili. Seriously, he's almost passed out drunk. I mean,
Wow.
he even pukes in a later panel. It's the small details like
What the fuck? Nice.
this that make me love this comic series. As Lasky sits down, Zeph proves right away that he is worth the money that Petra pays him, showing that he already knows who Lasky is and why he's there. One of the things I love right off the bat about Zeph is he's wearing black aesthetic armor. If that means he was part of the Aesthetics, a highly elite group of elites, or just took the armor at some point is unknown, but I'd like to imagine the former. Also, it's always nice to see these extra variants that we haven't really seen in a while. Anyway, before Zeph gets to the point, he briefly talks about the idea of a Jiralhane-Sangheili alliance, or rather a non-aggression agreement, calling the idea quote-unquote crazy talk. Now, I have berated the idea of aliens using human sayings, especially when it comes to their constant use throughout the Kilo 5 books and Mortal Dictata in particular. Maybe I'm being biased, but this particular instance felt a lot more natural than anything in Mortal Dictata did. Moving forward, Zeph shares what he knows about Vada Gajat and who leaked the location of this Sangheili Jiralhane peace talks. He says that Vada was formally employed by Jul Undama, so I can't help but wonder if Jul knows that Vada is no longer working for him, and was a proud member of the Covenant before that. Lasky asks, he's no longer Covenant? And I love Zeph's response here.
What does it mean to be Covenant today? 100 warlords claim they rule the Covenant, but each of them leads only a small faction.
This beautifully sums up the fallout of the collapse of the Covenant Empire. I hate to circle back to Kilo 5, but it's sad that, in my opinion, a single line better depicts the galaxy in disarray than an entire book series did. Again, I'm probably being biased.
I'm guessing he didn't like the book.
Kilo 5 trilogy, as we've discussed, is rather
Bad.
cringe.
Cringe.
But I like to think I can stay objective. I don't know, you guys tell me. So, let's get on to the big reveal of the issue, the traitor in the UNSC's midst. That human that we saw with Gajat back in issue 2, his name is revealed to be Captain Daniel Clayton. Clayton
Okay.
serves under Admiral Horatio Temkin, the UNSC ambassador to Sanghelios, and the one who arranged the meeting, explaining how Clayton knew where the meeting would be. Lasky's story in this issue comes to a close with a twist that would make M. Night Shyamalan proud. Clayton is James Cutter's son. Dun dun dun.
Who is James Cutter?
Remember that video I had you read at the last minute in the terminal vid of the summarizing Halo Wars?
Yeah.
James Cutter was the captain of the Spirit of Fire.
Oh, okay.
Back in Infinity, Roland is able to find the
Go ahead.
Lost with all hands for 30 years.
Ah. I see that Hood has he must be on a cleanse.
origin of the ship that attacked Infinity, and Hood reveals why he is the reason the Spirit of Fire went.
I also love that the bars are straight, but his name is like angled up.
Missing. As it turns out, Hood was once James Cutter's XO, and Cutter gave Hood his first ship, the Roman Blue. During the First Battle of Arcadia in 2531, as the Spirit of Fire was chasing Covenant forces out-system, Roman Blue was ordered to recover a log buoy dropped by the ship before jumping to slipspace. However, Hood, young and angry, decided to take on the remaining Covenant forces. As expected, though, the UNSC was no match for the Covenant, and basically because of Hood's rashness, the Spirit of Fire's location was lost. So the time comes to decide on whether or not to follow up on the coordinates Roland found. The coordinates point to Oath Lodan, a gas giant deep in Jiralhane territory and only one system away from their home planet of Doziak. If the Infinity were to get caught in that system, it would be a diplomatic nightmare. However, with Palmer's assurance,
Why does Hood keep on fluctuating? What is the deal here? Is he diabetic? What the fuck?
Bad art.
Oh my god. And what is with her nose? Look at it! She has a McDonald's crest for a nose.
It looks like a mushroom that got cut in half.
Da-da-da-da-da.
that her Spartans could sneak in without trouble, Hood approves a scouting mission. Using booster frames, nice to see those back, Palmer and Majestic sneak into the system through an asteroid field. However, what they find is not the Spirit of Fire, but a Covenant space station. Worse, and unknown to the Spartans, Vata is aware of their presence. We cut to aboard the space station and whoa! Clayton looks plain sinister in this panel. Anyway, Clayton starts talking to Vata about James Cutter, noting how Cutter took care of Clayton and his mom, as in not Cutter's wife. Remember, prior to this, the only kid that we knew that Cutter had was a daughter, and how his family was taken care of even after Cutter's disappearance. As Vata grows frustrated with Clayton's inaction, he reveals he's been waiting for the Infinity to show up and opens a communications channel. He reveals himself to Lord Hood and berates the Admiral for his failure to recover the log buoy and reveals that Hood had been taking care of Clayton his whole life. Hell, Clayton believes his entire military career is due to nepotism, and he probably ain't far off. Clayton further reveals that he's been working with the elusive Admiral Drake, glad to finally hear from this guy again, before using the space station's glassing beam to blast a hole through infinity. Now, I do find this scene a little odd, but this is a proper glassing beam, not ship-to-ship weaponry, and the former would be much stronger than the latter. So, that about wraps up issue 5. It was a hell of an issue, and has only left me begging for more. I'm sad that we didn't get to see the Spirit of Fire directly, but the next issue promises to, quote, bring the saga of Halo Wars into the modern era, hopefully meaning a proper appearance by the Spirit of Fire and her crew. Let's close this episode with a look towards the future. The description and art for issue 8 recently released, and boy did I call it! While nothing is concrete, we may get a cameo from the Chief himself in the coming issues. The Chief is returning in a big way. The Master Chief returns in the next 72 hours, Part 1. After defeating the Didac, John 117 joined the crew of Infinity. But why did he leave? The mystery begins here. Halo lead writer Brian Reed, Amazing Spider-Man, Ms. Marvel, reveals the secret events that immediately follow the end of Halo 4.
Okay.
I really can't wait for July, and I can't help but feel the fact that this issue is releasing after E3 is significant. Well, that's it for today, Spartans.
Okay. So these comics came out before Halo 5.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Well.
One note, by the way.
Yes.
He says that Infinity got hit with a glassing beam, as though that distinguishes it from ship-to-ship weaponry. It really doesn't, because A, it was a Covenant space station, not a space vessel, that shot Infinity, and B, glassing beams are just one type of weapon under the umbrella term energy projector.
Uh-huh. Okay, then. So far, I mean, I haven't been in the comic books for a very long time, but I like how they enhance the story. The artwork is giving me whiplash, though. Like, there doesn't seem to be any kind of perspective. There doesn't seem to be any kind of consistency. So it's giving me kind of whiplash when I see certain characters that look completely different scene to scene. But yeah, Hood definitely needs to get off whatever diet he's on because it's fucking with him hard. In any case, Arco, you good?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're going to be trying to do one of these every few days, if not every day that we can. And we'll go through the whole series. As far as I go, I'm enjoying this so far. I like anything that expands my knowledge on lore, in universes that I'm interested in. And I'm definitely interested in Halo. Or else I wasted a lot of time playing games. Which I do anyway. In any case, that's it for today. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. I have a Discord down below. You can jump in and put a request for reaction in. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can support me on Patreon. Links in the description down below. From myself and Arco, catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.